Something quietly happened at the end of 2025 that most people completely missed. No breaking news, no headlines, no panic, just a technical announcement from the Federal Reserve that the average person scrolled right past. But here's the problem. The last time they made a move like this, in 2020, it triggered the single largest wealth transfer in modern American history. People who owned assets got dramatically richer. People who held cash got quietly crushed, not because of anything they did wrong, because they did not understand the game being played around them. That game is happening again, right now, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what is coming, why it affects every dollar you own, and what to do about it before it is too late. Before we get into what just happened, you need to understand one simple concept. Think of the entire economy as a giant bathtub. The Federal Reserve controls the faucet. When they want the economy to grow, they turn the faucet on. Money flows in. Interest rates drop, borrowing gets cheap, businesses expand, people buy homes, the stock market rises, everyone feels wealthier. But leave the faucet running too long and the bathtub overflows. That overflow is inflation. Your groceries cost more, your rent climbs, your salary buys less and less, even though the number looks the same. So the Fed drains the tub. They stop buying bonds. They let money effectively disappear from the system. Borrowing becomes expensive, spending slows, inflation comes down. That draining process is called quantitative tightening, and they've been doing it aggressively since 2022. Shrinking their balance sheet from $9 trillion all the way down to around $6.5 trillion. Then, at the end of 2025, they stopped. The official reason they stopped tightening is that inflation cooled from 9% down to around 3%. Mission accomplished, they said. But there are two other reasons they are not advertising loudly. First, bank reserves, the actual cash sitting inside the banking system, were getting dangerously low. If that number falls too far, banks cannot function properly. The Fed had to act. Second, the job market started softening. Unemployment was creeping up. Companies slowed hiring. Keeping money tight in that environment risks making everything significantly worse. So they paused. And then, just 10 days later, they announced something called reserve management purchases. In plain English, they are buying short-term government bonds again. New money created to do it. Money entering the financial system. The Fed insists this is not quantitative easing. They are very careful about that distinction. But here's the truth. When the Fed creates new money to buy assets, whatever you call it, the effect on your wallet is identical. It's like saying you're not eating dessert, you're just having a small sweet treat after dinner. You're still eating cake. Here's why this matters so much. Let me show you exactly what happened the last time they opened the faucet. In 2020, the Fed expanded their balance sheet from $4.2 trillion to $9 trillion in under 2 years, nearly $5 trillion created and injected into the financial system. The goal was to prevent economic collapse, and in some ways it worked, but the benefits were not distributed equally, not even close. House prices jumped 13% in 2021, another 18% the following year. The stock market gained 18% in 2020 and 28% in 2021. If you owned assets, any assets, your net worth exploded. If you were renting, saving cash, and working a regular job, inflation went from nearly 0 to 9%. Your rent increased 30%. Groceries doubled. Real wages actually fell when adjusted for inflation. You were working harder, earning more on paper, and getting poorer in reality. That's what economists call a K-shaped recovery. Asset owners go up, everyone else goes down. And it was not an accident. It's exactly how the system works. Let me make this completely real with a simple example. You have $50,000 in a savings account. Your bank pays you around 3% interest. That's $1,500 a year.
But if inflation climbs back to 4 or 5%, which is entirely realistic given what the Fed just signaled, your 50,000 is losing purchasing power faster than it is gaining interest. You are earning 1,500 but losing 2,000 or more in real value every single year. You are going backwards, slowly, silently, without a single bill showing up to tell you. Meanwhile, someone who invested that same 50,000 into a broad market index fund is averaging 7 to 10% annually over the long term, keeping pace with or beating inflation consistently. Same starting point, completely different destination. The only difference is understanding the game. If this is making sense and you want more of this every week, subscribe right now. This is exactly the kind of thing we break down every single week on this channel. Based on everything the Fed just signaled here, here's what is most likely coming over the next 12 to 18 months. First, interest rates are going lower. The Fed already cut 3 times in late 2025. The economic data is softening, and political pressure to cut further is building. Rates are heading down. Second, more money is entering the system. They will expand their purchasing program. They'll call it something technical. The effect will be the same as it was in 2020. More money chasing the same assets. Third, asset prices are going up. Stocks, real estate. When the faucet opens, money flows into assets. That's not a prediction. That's a pattern that has repeated consistently for decades. And fourth, inflation is coming back. Maybe not 9%, but 4, 5, possibly 6% is entirely realistic, which means everything gets more expensive. And if your income doesn't keep pace, you will be poorer in real terms, even if the number in your account grows. The people who own assets will benefit. The people sitting in cash will fall further behind, exactly like last time. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot change what the Fed does. You cannot change monetary policy, but you can change where your money sits. And that decision is the entire difference between the two outcomes we just described. The strategy is not complicated. It never was. Get your money out of cash that is losing value and into assets that grow faster than inflation. For most people, that means starting with low-cost index funds, diversified, long-term, no stock picking, no timing the market, just consistent contributions to something that has historically returned 7 to 10% annually. A 35-year-old investing $10,000 today at 8% average returns, below the historical average, ends up with over $100,000 in 30 years. The same $10,000 in a savings account at 3% becomes $24,000. After inflation, that's barely worth $15,000 in today's money. Same person, same starting amount, same 30 years, $100,000 versus $15,000. The only variable is where the money went. You don't need to be wealthy to start. You don't need a finance degree. Most platforms let you begin with $10. The barrier is not money. The barrier is understanding. And now you have it. Let me leave you with 3 things to remember from everything we just covered. 1. The Fed is not working for you. Their job is to stabilize the financial system. The way they do that inflates asset prices. If you don't own assets, you don't benefit. You pay the price. 2. Cash is not safe. It feels safe. The number in your account doesn't move. But inflation is a silent tax that erodes your purchasing power every single day without sending you a single bill. And 3. Start now, not when the market looks calmer, not when you feel more ready. Now, because every day you wait is another day inflation is working against you and compounding is not working for you. The Fed just showed their hand. They're opening the faucet again. Last time this happened, people who understood the game built wealth. People who didn't got left behind. You now understand the game. Subscribe for more. Every single week we break down exactly how money really moves and what it means for your life. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. See you in the next one.